Chevron 1, encoded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your hunt. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2, encoded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3, encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4, encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5, encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6, encoded.
Not for while you can, monk boy.
Great Scott!
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side for now.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Live Saturday Night Drive, and we're back live this week. Last week, we were pre-recorded due to scheduling issues, but we're here. We're ready to have a good time. We got to take a break from all the garbage, and I am suffering garbage right now. Whether I'm getting the lore right or not, I'm suffering garbage right now. I need this. I needed this. I had fun watching this. We are here tonight to talk The Mummy, but first, let's go around the horn and say hello to hi Jed. I actually haven't seen you in a week.
I know, it's unusual, an entire week without my life partner. I don't know how I've done this. But,
you're fine. You're cheating on me. You're just fine. You're fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm the one who's alone. Sad.
Well, it is great to be here. Yes, chat, I am not in my normal setup, just doing some traveling right now, and hopefully everything works. It is storming, so who knows if anything's gonna fall apart, electricity or internet-wise, but we'll see if we can get through this, and I'm excited to be here because I love The Mummy. The Mummy is one of my favorite movies. I adore this film. It's just so much fun. And I have some controversial takes about it.
When do you not have a controversial
That's take? True. That's very, very true. But it's been nice because I knew that we were going to do this film at some point in the next few months or the last few months. And so I've gone on the Universal Mummy ride a few times in that film. And it's just nice because that reawakened my love for The Mummy because I haven't seen it in a good 4 years at this point.
It's been a while for me too. I mean,
getting back into it was great.
Well, I have the sequel over there. The sequel is one of the first DVDs I ever bought. And now I'm actually I'm upgrading them to my Blu-rays for Christmas time because they're really inexpensive. So it's a good time to upgrade them. And there were only two.
Only two.
Absolutely.
There's only two.
Never been rebooted.
Third one happened.
No third one.
Bad Kids WB cartoon never happened. So yeah.
And who's Tom Cruise?
Who's Tom Cruise?
Oh God. Ew.
Who's Tom Cruise? Yeah.
I mean, for that movie specifically.
Yeah. No. That never happened.
Yeah,
and we are joined by one of my fellow ball busters who is every week going just with me on that sinking ship. That why Jed asks us every week, why are you guys there? We don't know. We have no answers. It's not as though we like Dermy Wormy. He's our punching bag. Welcome.
I mean, who likes him?
He likes himself
Valid
a lot.
question.
We are joined by green-haired anti-liberal. We call her Gal for short. Gal, welcome to my channel for the first time. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. It's awesome to be here, especially for this movie, because, like Jed said, it is also one of my favorite movies of all time. And I have seen it. Like, I can fall asleep to this movie, which is kind of like an X Factor thing for me. Like, I have this movie memorized by heart. I probably watch it once every 2 months or so. It's
oh wow, yeah. So you really do love it. I do love these movies. I used to watch the sequel Return over and over again. Since it's on my DVD section, I don't, because the quality is utter shit. So I can't be able to look at it. That and Digital Rock. But we'll talk about that another time. We'll get there one day. But I remember when this came out, I skipped it entirely in the theaters because I was like, whatever. It looks in it. And then I caught it on terrestrial cable. I'm like, wow, this is very badass.
You were old enough to watch it in theater, Adam.
I wasn't gonna make a comment.
I suffer this all the time, no matter where I go. I'm old Adam here. Oh, you're old man.
I'm not even sure I was born yet.
No, you weren't.
How
Actually, you
young
weren't.
are
You weren't. You weren't.
I'm over here.
Depends on when it came out.
99.
No, I know, but it depends on what part of the year.
Oh,
if it was a Christmas movie, I was around. If it was a spring movie,
all right.
Oh,
I'm gonna check. I am an old man.
I was over here saying, yeah, I was only 10 years old. Yeah, awesome. That's great.
Let's see.
Thanks, Jed.
Adam was already in his 40s, though. So,
why do I even deal with you people? I don't know. Well, all right. You know what? At least
and
I'm not
I was
gay
being
like
generous
Curly.
with that. We all know that his ex-wife Eve gave him an apple, so he's been around for a while. He's seen it.
Yeah,
all.
we don't talk about Lilith. We don't talk about Lilith.
Oh yeah, who's Lilith?
No, May 7th.
Number on you, bro.
May 7th.
Okay, so I wasn't around yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't 10 yet.
Child. Anyway, yeah. So when I saw it for the first time on TV, I'm like, wow, okay, this is pretty cool. And then when the sequel's coming out, I went and saw that, and I love the sequel. I'll say this now, and I'll say it again when we get to it as a show. To me, the sequel is like a video game. That's why I love it so much. It behaves like a video game to me. It works. So that's why I kind of really always clicked with it. Anyway, but we're here to talk about the original. Before that, hail and howdy to the chat. We hope you're going to enjoy it today. And if you're watching now and you have a good time, hit that like button. And if you're watching on the replay, when it's re-uploaded, we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. All right. So, Jed, you were not even a twinkle in anybody's eye when this came out. So you saw it way later. Gal, when did you first encounter the movie?
I don't think I saw it in the theaters. I think it was cable TV type of thing, just with the family. And as I mentioned in the green room, my memory is shit, so I don't know exactly when I first saw it, but I just remember loving it from jump. Like that's the memory I have, is just loving every single moment of the movie.
Well, that's the thing. This movie, it gets off right at a jump. It wastes no time at just kicking it into gear and rocking and rolling. And I appreciate it that even though when it starts, it's kind of it really is a prologue, because you have the history lesson. Yeah. And then you have Rick and I guess what's that, the French Foreign Legion?
Yeah.
That's what they
that was
are.
my understanding. Yeah.
It's the French Foreign Legion defending Hamunaptra from Bedouins, I guess. I don't know. And
they don't explain that sequence very well at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
it's a good opening, but what the hell is happening?
Yeah, right. We get that a little bit later on from Rick when he's talking to Evie about it. But anyway, you get that, and then you realize when we see Rick again, it's been a while by the length of his hair. So this, of course, the opening sequence is honestly, it's kind of an iconic sequence with the chick who plays a Noxunamon walking down in that body paint. Everybody
and not much else.
Not much. There are. I took a very close look yesterday. There are pasties on there.
I've done a close look at it too, because I've always been curious. I'm like, are you wearing anything?
This is the first time I've had it in a high quality HD format because it's been a long time since I've seen the original because I don't have terrestrial cable anymore. And I'm thinking, okay, is that full on body paint? Why am I not seeing nipple? Oh, there they are. I see the pasties.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I have to. I have. It's for research purposes,
right?
Okay?
Yeah, you got to know.
I gotta know. But that scene, I don't know how historically accurate it is, and I don't care.
Got no idea. I'm
I
not
don't
an expert
care.
on Egyptian.
Yeah. I am. No, am I? But it's a great opening, Jed, because it sets the feeling for the whole movie, and it gives us all the information we need. It doesn't it?
Yeah, in a very short amount of time. The prologue's 2 minutes long before we get to Rick. Obviously, not counting the Rick.
That's prologue too. Yeah, that's prologue too.
Yeah, I guess that's still prologue. So probably 5 minutes in total. And yeah, movies did this a lot in the '90s where they had over dramatic prologues, and I kind of miss the art of the prologue because
I love good prologue.
Yeah, a good prologue. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring has one of the best prologues ever made.
Yes,
But
yes.
movies these days rely too much on flashbacks, and a lot of times they get inserted in weird ways. It feels unnatural. It's just like, you guys got to know this, so we're just got to hammer it in, and it throws off the whole momentum of the story. Flashbacks are a very difficult thing, and with Hollywood relying on them so much, they are getting it wrong more often than they're getting it right these days. But yeah, we need to bring back the prologue. The 90s prologues needs to have a resurgence in Hollywood because the audience needs to know it. Might as well make it epic. Might as well get to the point right off the bat. Everything you need to know in an over-the-top way that people remember, because you got to hook someone in the first few minutes, and this intro absolutely did.
The music, the scenery, the draw in. It's like, damn, here we are.
Well, I don't know if anyone who'd seen the trailers was expecting to go to ancient Egypt, especially right off the bat. They're like, what is this? I imagine like the old trailers. I'm not a fan of 90s trailers. I do not like 90s trailers.
I'm not a fan of trailers in general.
But
they also spoiled things a lot with 90s trailers.
Did they?
Yeah.
But I just imagine people going like, I mean, I like Brendan Fraser. He's been in some things I like, and it's like desert. Maybe it's like Indiana Jones, and
this
not really
was his first.
having an idea.
I think this was Brendan Fraser's first real action movie at the time because he had done a lot of dramatic stuff. I mean, he'd done
George of the Jungle was before this.
Yeah,
well, that's comedy.
It's still an action.
It had action, so like it's arguably.
This is pretty late in Brendan Fraser's career before the whole,
I mean, well, Encino Man is what got him started.
Right.
That's what
And
really
that
put him on the map. Then he did a bunch of dramatic stuff, like where he was the Jewish guy going to the anti-Semitic school. I forget the name of that movie.
Something.
And then, yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then several things. And of course, then he proved he had comedic chops with George W. He did Bedazzled with Liz Hurley. Ooh, that movie. And then, wait. Liz Hurley, you can watch her all day. I mean, but this was for me the first time an action hero mode because George of the Jungle again, it's comedy, but he's not action hero. He's George of the Jungle. Even though he was fit as hell in George of the Jungle.
It's weird to see modern day Brendan Fraser compared to 90s Brendan Fraser.
Yeah. 90s and early aughts Brendan Fraser because Mummy Returns is early aughts. He was fit. He was in good shape.
I would say that this is probably his first role where he's like an action heartthrob.
Because this is definitely action, romance, suspense.
Yeah, and he's that noble hero.
Yeah.
And
we get off to that right away in that first prologue scene where we're introduced to Rick, and it's just badassery all around. Right away.
And you get to know who he is just from moment one, really, like that he is loyal. And he is good at what he does.
It's not going to back down.
Right. He'll win no matter what. And he takes care of his people and steps up when he needs to. And when he's betrayed, he doesn't even really fully understand it at the first moment.
The Benny stuff is just great throughout the whole movie.
Absolutely.
Benny's hilarious.
You're still with me, right? Your strength gives me everything I need.
And he's such a sarcastic little shit. Like,
my favorite part of the movie, bar none, is when Benny meets the mummy and starts messing with his necklaces, like trying to find the right one. I don't know why I love that
so much. It shows you who he is as a character just in that moment, like doing whatever he can to survive.
And then gets lucky that it's like, oh, you're of the slaves. Oh, I'm going to need you.
Yeah, that I don't know if this movie could be made these days.
I'm so offended that they called my people slaves. Because guess what? They were slaves. You know what? It was 5,000 years ago. I don't give a shit. But there's the other thing I just learned. Just before we move on from the prologue, I learned a funny story. Apparently, some time ago, Andre Vossler, who after this movie I always loved as just a badass and stuff. Andre Vossler gave an interview. Apparently, during the filming of the prologue scene at one point, they're all done up, ready to go, and instead of the chick who plays a Noxunamun coming out, it's Brendan Fraser in the full body paint.
I've heard about that.
And doing the whole thing, and everybody lost it apparently. And I love stories like that when I find them, because it's like you're just having a good time. Then everybody's having a good time.
That translates over to the screen. The audience can feel that these actors love what they're doing.
They were there in the moment. Like, they didn't need to push themselves into being who they were. Like, you could feel that.
Yeah. So that learning that story, and ironically, I heard it last week, right after I chose to do this movie for this week. So like, wow, this was a good sign, because I can relate this funny story. So anyway, but we get to the prologue, and like I said, Jed, we are instantly aware of all the stakes. We know that Imhotep, if he ever rises, will bring about disaster on the world. He had his affair with Noxunamun. He loved her all the way to death. And then here we have Rick O'Connell, one of our central protagonists, our male protagonist, who is a badass, who knows how to fight. And we even get a shot of Oded Fehr's character, who I don't remember his name right now, of Ardeth in the distance with the Magi and all that stuff. All the players except for Evie, and we get Evie and Jonathan 2 seconds later, everybody's put into play. And we know what's going on. And then we get the charming introduction of pre-adventurer Evie, of nerd Evie.
Yeah,
she has a great arc.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
it's amazing.
And Rachel Weisz is great in both movies. She, especially, that's what I love about both these movies. In this one, it's Evie in these early stages before she is with Rick in the second movie, and then she's full-on adventurer archaeologist. But this one, I'm just a geeky scholar. I'm clumsy. And I love at times she's so wrapped up in what she's either thinking or reading, she does stupid shit. When she's on the boat, she's going over things in her head, just doesn't put things on the hanger, drops stuff, turns around, bumps into shit. But it's lovable and it's not stupid, Jed. It's not
100%. And there are consequences to her clumsiness. Like right now, I'm dealing with I'm playing the Spider-Man Miles Morales game for the first time. By comparison. Beardo's making me do it. He says it's amazing. He even sat down with me and played it.
I'm not even playing that before Spider-Man 2. Fuck that. I'm not playing that game.
It's rough, but the two big moments that Miles is Spider-Man at the beginning of the game, she wrecks shit. Like, it's his fault that Rhino escapes in the prologue of the game, and a bunch of escaped convicts start raging through the city, and it's all his fault, like 100%. But then he discovers Venom powers, so he's like, dude, I'm awesome. I've got electricity. And he forgets that all these people have died. Rhino causes a citywide blackout, and there's just no consequences. You discover, even Peter's like, no, man, you got lightning, and you took on Rhino single-handedly while I was unconscious? Dude, you're good enough to take care of this city on your own. Then he fucks off to Europe. It's like, no, like, you can have these moments, just like her, I mean, on a much smaller scale, but knocking over the bookcases. The character recognizes it's wrong, works to fix it, and there's consequences. And that what excuses these things in our characters, that we can still like them even when they make mistakes, and they recognize their mistakes and work to overcome them. Miles hasn't, and so I'm hating the game so far.
And I you know what? I am sorry. And I regret the fact that I'm going to have to play as him in the next game. I don't want to, but I'll have to switch to him sometimes, apparently. But we'll deal with that when I get there in a month. That's a whole nother type of stream. Anyway.
One thing I wanted to... sorry, just real quick.
No, go ahead.
Evie, I kind of see her as, like, not to get too deep into this, but with her character arc, just from the beginning, I see her as, like, a prim English rose that hasn't found her thorns. And she later develops that.
That's great. She hasn't found her footing yet.
Yeah.
And let's be honest.
She has to go through
she goes through this maturing event, realizing, I just started a mini apocalypse. Okay, because I What harm is there opening a book?
Right. And that her doing that and saying that is seemingly off character for her. Like, you would think that she would not be the one that says that. It would more be Rick who says that. But at the same time, she's going through all this adventurous stuff and hasn't ever done that before. So it's kind of changing her way of thinking. And she's kind of in the moment being adventurous. So it's...
You realize this at that point. None of them have experienced any mystical shit yet. It's the world is still mundane and normal. Yeah, a little shooty with guns and people dying. Hey, that's normal. It's the early 1900s.
Yeah.
But
and then the sand stuff with Rick in the prologue.
Yeah,
but that's where I was going. That's where I was going. Yeah. Rick is the only one who has tasted it because he's the one that says there's some evil in there.
Right.
And I don't want to go back, but at this point, Evie is in pure scholastic mode.
Yeah.
I am doing this for the knowledge. I want to get myself so I go to the is it Pembridge or Pembridge? Pembridge scholars.
Pembridge. They remember.
Shut up. I want to go to the Pembridge Scholars. I want to get recognized. She's a woman who wants to get recognized in a man's world, but it's done without being a whammons.
Yes,
it's so earned.
I know.
There's so much payoff to it. And she's not an insufferable woman. She's a woman lovable. That knows she's smart, but also knows that she's not everything, and she can't do everything. But she wants to be able to.
Yeah,
she needs to learn.
She doesn't insult anybody.
A modern hero would hate Rick and be like, "Oh, he's a piece of shit. I don't need him." No, and it would be the brother who's like, "You need Rick," and she's like, "I don't need him." And
no, instead she's okay. We have to deal with him, and then it's like, "Oh, you're hot. Oh, I like you.
Oh, I love that moment after
you stole that kiss from me, and now all I can do is think about the kiss."
And he gets so mad when he's like, "I was about to die. I just wanted to kiss somebody."
Yeah.
It's hilarious that you love that moment, because I love the moment when she goes from like prim and proper to the desert beauty,
the camel riding scene.
It's funny that you're all like dolled up, and then one of my favorite parts is when she does. So that's
and he gets it, and. But yeah, it's so the relationship, because that's why this works so well. It is a proper relationship where nobody's insulting and everybody understands what's going on. I mean, one of my favorite moments in the movie in the third act are when she sacrifices herself to save them when the zombies are gonna try and kill everybody, and and Imhotep wisps her and Benny away back to the desert. And Rick and Jonathan and Ardith catch up, and every time he comes around, it's that look of O'Connell. It's like, yes, your man has come to save you. Yep. He's here to be a badass, and he's here to save you. And it's refreshing that a woman can want a man can want a woman, and nobody is demeaning anybody in the process or taking everybody down from pedestal.
It's a very egalitarian relationship. They need each other in more ways than one, more than just in the adventuring side of things. They just fit really well together.
Right, like where they can balance, they know their strengths and their weaknesses. Both of them do, and then they balance each other as they go throughout the movie. Like, they learn it of each other. It's perfection.
It's great. It's just it's a well-paired, and the chemistry between Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz is incredible, and it carries over to the next movie.
I think that's the biggest reason why the third one doesn't work, is Rachel Weisz isn't in it. Like, I think people would still remember it fondly if it was still Rachel Weisz.
It might work. I mean, granted, leaving the Egyptian mythology behind for Chinese mythology did not work.
It was so weird.
It was the hype of Jet Li at the time. Everybody wanted to get Jet Li in a movie. And nobody
like that.
You lost when you stuck with the mythology that made it great. It was fine, and of course that movie that was early whammons, like with the chick who gets involved with their son in the third one. She's early whammons. That's early.
I've only seen that one once.
So have I. I've only seen it once.
I
remember enough that it was whammons time, and before you even knew the term whammons. I don't like anything about that movie. I mean, just like go ahead.
Oh, you just finished your thought. I was
Well, I
going
was
back.
gonna say, when I was looking yesterday, because now it's almost October, I'm getting my holiday list together. I told you guys I'm gonna upgrade to my Blu-rays for both these movies, and they had a full all three of them for only $12. But I don't want that third one in my house.
Yeah.
So, but
Makes it
fortunately, the other
hard.
two combined are going to be about $10, $11. So hey, I'm still getting what I want for the same price. So I'm happy when I combine them. But yeah, so it's Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser have incredible chemistry.
Mhm.
You can tell, like we said, they're having fun with these characters. And
that's what makes the movie.
Yeah.
Without
Absolutely.
the chemistry, this isn't The Mummy. No one's gonna remember the plot isn't anything extraordinary. It's very
That's not
simple.
groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's
evil
very-
monster destroy the world for his own selfish purposes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Which is
This
what a
where-
mummy movie should be anyway.
Exactly.
But they just added that extra.
Yeah.
oomph.
Well, and this is where my controversial side of things comes in. Now, I always highlight these in these streams, but even more so after I got called out on Geeks and Gamers Daily for my objectivity versus subjectivity argument when it comes to rating movies.
I live with this every week. I don't care anymore.
Yes, chat is. I have to preface this.
Bigger
You're
chat.
gonna like
Bigger
this,
chat.
gal.
Bigger
You're
chat.
gonna like this chat, but I mean, you're gonna like this gal. Chat. It's gonna take them a second to realize what I'm actually saying. So, I don't think this is as good of a movie as Indiana Jones, but I love this movie way more than Indiana Jones. I'd much rather watch this one, and
That's
in
fine.
a lot of aspects, especially when it comes to the ensemble cast, I think this is better than Indiana Jones.
I have no objection with that because
Oh, Mustang would already be murdering me in chat.
if when he listens to this, he'll probably be gnashing at the teeth. But then again, he's busy these days, so we'll get an earful a little later time. I have no problem with that because while these are the same adventure genre type in that section, this scratches a different itch than Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, Indiana Jones deals with Judeo-Christian, and of course, Temple of Doom is Indian mythology, but that it generally uses Judeo-Christian mythology and that kind of stuff, and it's a little more trying to bring the supernatural down to a more human level. These two movies, and again, I say two movies. These two movies go full batshit with the supernatural. We're talking
It's
about
not being subtle.
Yeah.
No, and it knows what it knows what it is, and it knows what it's trying to deliver. Crazy, high end, over the top fantasy action. And I'm okay with a guy summoning either a giant sandstorm or a giant water wave to chase you, and then smile at you through the wave while he's doing it.
Yes.
And that again, to go to that scene when they're flying with Winston in the plane, and I'll talk about Winston too. I do want to bring up Winston because Jed and I always love setup and payoff. It's a tiny little setup and payoff, but I love that it happens.
It's a little but yeah.
When they're getting chased by the giant sandstorm, Rick is an intelligent warrior. He knows damn well that unloading the gun into the sandstorm ain't gonna do shit, but he's freaking out.
Right. Like, what else could he do? Yeah.
It makes him feel better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shooting makes me feel better. If you could name that line, you get a point. But it makes it work. And again, just to brought it now, that scene also is the end of payoff. When we, for a minute, a little while before, in the middle of the second act, we get introduced to Winston, one of Her Majesty's Royal Air Guard, left over from World War I, stationed there. The last of his squadron pines drunkenly for the fact that he didn't go down in flames, says, I wish I could have gone down in a blaze of glory. And then they pay it off. He goes down in a blaze of glory, helping everybody out.
And arguably, this is a much better cause than World War I because this is saving the world.
The world, right.
I mean, no one's going to know. Like, his name's not going to be remembered.
But that makes it even better.
He didn't
honestly.
care.
That's not what
When
he
they're
was doing it
crashing, he's
for.
going, here I come, boys!
Yeah.
He knows
Yeah.
it's his end, and he's happy. And I love that. It's tiny little things like that make these types of movies really good, where even though it's a setup, yes, and it's a plot device for that scene, but it's still a nice little setup and payoff, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's better than just pulling it out of your ass all of a sudden like a modern movie would.
Right.
They knew they needed to address it, but that does come into a little bit of my biggest issues with the movie. I think there's an undue amount of contrivance and coincidence in this film. There's a lot
You're
of
not
little,
wrong.
Yeah.
They're mostly small moments, but they do affect a lot. I mean, the first example in the film is he happens to walk up right to the Anubis statue, which saves his life. in that big city, he happens to go to the one place that people would run away from him and spare his life. That's pretty coincidental. And there's a lot of little things like that I'm not usually a fan of. I think that the only place that coincidences can work wholeheartedly without much issue is as an inciting incident. That is like the one location in the story that I'm mostly fine with coincidences. But yeah, there's just too many. And that does bring it down significantly for me. Okay. And I feel like Winston is a bit of a coincidence, even though it is set up.
He's set up. And that's why I forgive it, because it's set up. And Rick knows him, and Rick knows
it feels like they recognize that it's a coincidence, and so they're trying their best to excuse it. And so I do appreciate that. It's better
than
a
rando. He's not a complete rando. It's like, hey, we're commandeering your plane to do this. No, he was introduced in a small moment, and we like, and that's why for me,
there is a character arc with him. So like, I do appreciate that. But
I did not know Fink booked that. I didn't know that Jerry Goldsmith.
Is that true?
Soundtrack. That's badass.
I put him in like a top 3 greatest composers.
Yeah,
that is incredible.
Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith. Themes. Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith. He's one of the goats. I mean, if you take John Williams out of the equation, Jerry Goldsmith moves to the top.
For consistency, yes, absolutely.
With recognizable and iconic themes. I mean, again, you just said it. Star Trek. I mean, it's so many other things, but with John Williams there, that's the
with John Williams, Jerry Golden, and Howard Shore with Lord of the Rings. Those are top 3, and then I'd add in Murray Gold for all the
Murray Gold works. I can go with Murray Gold. I will wholeheartedly put Murray Gold in a conversation like that, and then you go down to next year, Hans Zimmer, other guys like that who are the current generation of guys, but
Danny
it's
Elfman.
always Danny Elfman, but it's always going to be John Williams at the top. There is no greater soundtrack score master. He is the maestro when it comes to that. But Jerry Goldsmith, I didn't know that. Thank you, Fink Book, for letting us know. I didn't watch the credits yesterday, so I didn't see that. I kind of like, credits on. I got to go on something else. Got to get. Actually, I was like 5 minutes away from Ballbusters, so I was like, okay, done. Got to get ready for Derby show.
You just should have been late, man.
That does explain a lot, because the soundtrack for The Mummy is incredible.
It nails it. It does nail. I mean, we'll get there. Yeah, we saved soundtrack for our last final point of every discussion. We'll get back to that. So it's the whole thing is set up beautifully, and again, these character arcs great. And then got to bring in that. So we're talking about the characters, the actors. John Noble is Jonathan, pure comic relief, puts a smile on his face. Now there's Jed's contrivances and coincidences. Jonathan in both movies always has an important item. In this one, it's the key. In the second movie, it's the Spear of Ra. Or the Lance of Ra, whatever they call it. Yes, Jonathan is a walking contrivance, but
it's a little rough, especially at the beginning. The one man who's been to the City of the Dead happens to run into the brother of the woman who's dedicated her life to finding the Book of Ra. He could have been pickpocketed by anyone.
But you know what? Jonathan Noble makes it okay because he gives a wonderful.
He's great. He's great in a lot of stuff. He was the only good part of the Last of Us TV show.
For all 3 minutes, he was in it.
All 3 minutes.
All 3 minutes.
He was
didn't even know he was in it.
He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well, and he was good in that.
He was also during the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s Doctor TV show craze, which spawned Grey's Anatomy and all that shit. He had a 1-season show with another guy. I forget his name. I know what he looks like, and you probably recognize him if I said a movie I could remember him in. Where they were a pair of doctors doing stuff, and he was really good in that show. It was a little bit House-esque, yet not, but he was really good in it, and I really enjoyed him in that. And I appreciate Jonathan Noble. I love him as an actor. He's a great actor. Puts on a great performance, and again, his comedy chops in this are just great. Yet, even though he acts like a coward, he still has moments where he pulls out. Like when they're fighting off, I think it's the Magi. When the Magi catch up to them in Hamunaptra, and Rick shooting stuff. I think it's that scene where he pulls out Rick's gun, his revolver, and just starts also shooting. Like, screw it. No.
I always look at the moment of the boat right before he falls off when he's like, Americans, and then they save his ass and like, jolly good old fellas,
chaps,
and then he falls off the boat.
And I love, that sets up a great bit of comedy of the whole filthy Americans. No offense, none taken.
Yes.
None taken.
It's just a great back and forth. But comedy-wise, my favorite bit from him is in the climax of the movie when he's reading the cover of the Book of Ra to get control of those soldiers, and he's asking Evie what the symbol is. It's like, oh yeah, that's what that is, and he's just like casually, like kind of proud of himself,
forgetting where he's at. Yeah,
and Gal, that brings in like the great relationship between Evie and Jonathan.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful brother and sister relationship where there's no jealousy,
Absolutely.
There's no animosity, and I love it. It makes it worth it. It's
Well,
family stuff.
And with that, combining it with the second one, I love the touch of his nephew.
Good uncle.
Trying to
good
figure out what
uncle.
the metaphys is. And Jonathan is then able to impart that wisdom that he learned from his sister. Between those two movies, it's just amazing. The setup and payoff.
Yeah.
Because it's one that you're not even wanting or expecting in the second one that you even know would happen. They're so well written.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, and you know what? It's respect for the audience.
Yes.
They're not treating us like consumers. They're treating us like the customer, the audience, who are we've paid good money in one way, shape, or form to do this, but they know that they have to give us something.
Right.
That it's we expect you to get your good story's worth and have fun with it. Going around the horn for the rest of the actors, we'll get back to story. I love Oded Fehr. I love him as a badass in so many things. This was the first time I saw him, and I love it that in the second movie he gets more to do. That Ardeth gets way more to do. Yeah, he's not just there, but we get a taste of his badassery, and then in the second one, it's full on badass mode, and I love it.
He gets some nuance. Like in the second one, you kind of feel bad for. Like you start to relate to him, understand where he's coming from a lot more, and then the heroic sacrifice at the end. Like he's got some good stuff to work with in the second one.
Yeah. So I love Oded Fehr. Ardeth is badass, and as I said earlier, I love Andrei Vosloo. I think he didn't do a lot with his career, but with him, go ahead.
Who was that?
He's the Mummy. He's Imhotep.
Oh, okay.
Andrei Vosloo. I always liked him.
Oh, then I've got him mixed up. Then
okay,
I thought you were talking about the Mummy originally.
No. He is the Mummy. Guy. He's the Mummy. He is Andrei Vosloo. He's the Mummy in this. I always dig him. There was another brief show called Veritas: The Search for Truth, where he was the badass bodyguard in that one. I always liked this dude when he was in stuff. I like him when he usually plays bad guys, but he does it well. Like Michael Ironside, he plays bad guys well, and I appreciate somebody who commits to doing that kind of shtick, and I like it. So
I was confused
my
too.
Comments
Jed.
previously, I don't know their real names for most of these guys. So my previous comments applied to the Mummy.
And when you were saying, like, I thought that's who he was talking about too. So I was full on. I was just like, yes, I agree.
Old man rambling.
Were you talking about the Medjai previously?
Yes, that's who.
Yeah. Oded Fehr plays Ardeth the Magi. Andrei Vosloo is Imhotep the Mummy.
Imhotep. Okay. Well, when it comes to the Medjai, I fan cast him as Jesus in my books, Adam. I want him to play Jesus.
Hey, Oded Fehr has played a Jew before too. It's fine. He played a Jew in NCIS. He was part of Mossad,
and he was great in that.
Yeah, and he turned out to be a bad guy in that too. So it was fine.
Don't hate me, but I love him in Resident Evil 2.
It's fine. Hey, if I have to pick one Resident Evil, if I have to pick one Resident Evil movie to watch, I pick 2.
Oh yeah, that one's hands down my favorite.
It feels even though they're not video game accurate from what I understand, it feels like a video game. So I enjoy that one. But yeah,
I never played the video games before seeing that, so I really enjoyed.
I watched somebody play it once, so
yeah,
I'm not into Resident Evil.
I recently tried to watch it, but
I have no experience with that franchise whatsoever. But,
okay.
There's something interesting that I noticed in this watch through that made me love the movie even more. It's not actually affecting its objective quality, and won't affect you two probably. But one of the Americans, he was Van Staten in Doctor Who season 1, and I just loved that.
You are the only one who's gonna know that, right? I don't remember that.
He's the guy in season 1 who had the Dalek in the underground museum.
Oh, okay.
See, and I've never seen Doctor Who.
Well, Dalek. Well, that's an important episode. So, okay.
Yes, Dalek from season 1. He was the generic American with the big mustache.
That's the episode that got me hooked. Dalek.
It's a good one.
Hooked. Yeah, that's like, okay, I'm in.
End of the World got me hooked, episode 2, but yeah, Dalek is incredible.
Episode 2 got me thinking, okay, I'm digging this, but then Dalek really, that cemented, I'm having a good time. That's what
when the doctor says, you guys always think you're going to die from global warming or asteroids, but you never think to consider the impossible, that you make it, that you survive. I just love that speech. That was when I was a kid.
That's good.
Yeah.
Point.
So
they go 5 billion years in the future and see humanity's still good.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. So, I lost my train of thoughts. I'm gonna change gears. we change it. We switched to too many different IPs there, and I completely lost my train of thought.
5 minutes, yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Hey, live streams, live television. It happens. Anyway, all right. So, Jed, the story, as we said, it's not a complicated story.
No.
And that's why it works. How many times have we done this where we've gone through a movie where we say it works because the story isn't complicated? It knows what it is.
Oh, we've said it a lot because, that's a big problem, especially with modern movies, is they fall under the weight of their own complicated storylines. They're too complicated for the writing quality to hold up to it. So movie that knows what it is, isn't trying to be better, will get more marks than it otherwise would for its simple plot. And this movie knows exactly what it is and excels at it. And I can't fault the plot too much, even though I will be taking off some points for it with my
the contrivances,
the contrivances especially. But I like a little bit of mystery in it in my stories, and I didn't feel like there was quite enough of that, especially considering the archaeologist side of things. Like, I think it would have been kind of cool if there was a bit of a mystery element. I think that would have helped the horror especially quite a bit.
I can see how you would like that because I haven't been doing this with you long enough. I understand your taste to that direction, so I can see that. But Gal, the movie works being simple because, and as Jed just mentioned, the modern day movie, and we put that in quotes, barely call them movies anymore. They get so wrapped up in trying to push something through characters, whatever, choose your agenda or choose your bad idea, that they lose the fact that you can tell the story itself through actual character development and actual character interaction. And this movie thrives on that, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. They always want these agendas to be pushed. They want their climate change or I am woman, hear me roar. So I have to be the best at everything. And the simplicity of the story allows for it to just feel natural. Like everyday people would be, if they were in that situation in real life, they could be those characters. And that's what I always want from my stories that I watch. I want to be able to put myself in place of it. I don't care what color of skin they have, if they have a penis or a vagina. I'm sorry. I don't know if you care.
Oh, no, we're fine. We're fine. No,
medical terms are fine.
We have said far worse. I mean, listen, I will play this clip. When we did Tombstone a couple weeks ago, this little gem came out of my mouth towards the end of the show. We want to enjoy what we're looking at. We don't want sores and fat whores. So don't worry about that.
Oh God. But yes, I forgot what we were.
Sores and fat whores really makes you forget what you're thinking.
Hey, all right. How about this one? I'll let you collect your thought. You'll appreciate this one, Gal. So one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Just collect your thoughts about the characters and story. Like, your thoughts. One of my favorite scenes is after we learn that Imhotep is afraid of cats. When he starts hitting on Evie, and Rick and Jonathan burst in, and he's like, "Rah!" And then Rick goes, "Hey, look at this! Woo, cat!"
Yep.
And he freaks out. We need to. I take that clip. We need to give it to our friends in the Legion, and we need them to put Dermy's face on Imhotep, and anything else that makes Dermy afraid on the cat.
It just that's a gold mine there.
Yeah.
We need to make that happen. I'm going to talk to Devil about that. Talk to
like
Bug.
boobs on it.
Oh, and you got to do a version of it too, where
a bunny girl,
with Benny and the necklaces, where you're like, do you like tits, Dermy? Oh no, that's not working. Do you like it? Do you like this about a woman? A woman's ass? No, not that.
No.
Back taco.
And a penis.
Oh.
Hey.
You might be of some use to me.
All right, that is our moment of Dermy. Okay, that's what we're
The
doing. Yeah,
moment of
back
yes.
to you about characters working with the story, making it work.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the relationship between Evie and Jonathan, and also Evie and Rick. That
Exactly.
they're real people. Like you all know, like my brother and I are like we live together. We go to the meetups together. Like I don't want to say identify with it, but like their relationship is very similar to my brothers and I, where we're just like back and forth, but we love each other. We just don't say it type of relationship. And it's real. So it keeps me in the story. It wants me I want to see where they're going and what they're doing. And their arcs don't go against who they are. And even just the side characters where it's like the Americans
Mr. Stinky. Mr. Stinky. Mr. Stinky.
But like it's like Americans versus the British. And there's just this quality where, yeah, they're the cowboys from the West. And then there's the prim, proper Brits who do things differently and quietly or more subtly, where we're going in guns blazing. I don't know, it just keeps me in the story, able to recognize those things. And it's just, they're so well written. And just even the arcs that the Americans go on, they all die, but whatever.
Well, that's part of it. It's part of it, and it's woven in. And they're dead. Because the minute they're going to die. It's just a matter of when and how grisly, because Emotep has to get the full power to be powerful. But again, to the character point things, you're absolutely right. These characters are created in a way where we can't easily relate to them because they're not obnoxious, they're not terrible, and they're fulfilling our escapism fantasy.
Right. So that was my point. Like, they're not there to just push an agenda or an ideology onto you. They're there to be characters in their own story, in their own lives. It's not just, I need to send a message to the audience. Yes.
I mean, here's the thing. You see Rick O'Connell, and the minute he rolls out his Arsenal duffel bag roll, I love the Arsenal duffel bag roll. It's like, damn, that's what we love in an action hero. He's got his weapons.
Right. He is prepared for whatever.
He is ready, and he's just happily getting it all ready, getting it going. And it's just, and no matter what, he always remembers to bring his arsenal with him. He doesn't leave it behind. Yeah, he loses it at the end of the final battle, but when he loses it, he gets a freaking sword and he fights with a sword
and figures it out.
It does it in badass motion. Badass. It's just, he's a fighter.
It still makes sense.
Yeah. And at the same time, Evie's relatable. Like we said earlier, we've talked about it multiple times. She is not obnoxious. She's not women's, and she does it with common charm. But one of my favorite things in the first movie is when things are tense and she's trying to translate something, she'll just come and go, patience is a virtue.
Not right now.
No, it flows together nicely because it's just funny and it fits with the character we've come to understand in this amount of time.
Absolutely.
And then come right down to it, the romance between Rick and Evie, the setup, the end of the walking off to the sunset or riding off sunset where you don't know, you might never see them again. It still feels good. But then when we go to the second movie, the full-on horniness of their romance is even better.
Yes.
Because get a room. I mean, they hinted that right at the end there, where that's where it's going to evolve into, where Jonathan says, "Oh, get a room. How about you, Lovey, to the camel? You want to kiss? You want to kiss?
You want to kiss? Yeah."
It's like, oh, and that's the thing, and you can see where these two are soulmates. They were meant for each other, and it's just so well developed and paid off that he's not doing it to save the world. He's doing it for the girl.
Right. And they do it so well for both men and women in the audience. Like the women get their romance. I'm a girl. I like romance in my stuff, but I also don't need it to be just a romance, especially in my action movies. I don't need romance in my action movies. I can't remember who I was talking to, but we were talking about Oda Sensei for One Piece, where he said that if you want romance, like go to the shoujo, like that. This is an action story, and I'm not putting romance into it, and I don't need it. If you're a woman that needs that, go watch your romance movies, read your romance books. I do those things, but I don't need it in my action. But it's nice to have like both, like a good balance. I'm not really explaining this well.
No, you are. No, you're fine.
I get exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen a lot of people criticize stuff, mainly in the video game sphere, for not being something else. It's like, this is a bad movie because it's not the right genre for me. Like there's been a lot of examples of it, but I'm sorry, Adam. The best one I can think of is you. Saying God of War should have been an MMO. You don't like the fighting because it's not MMO fighting.
No. What I said was I want to be able to zoom out because I want to see the God of War Ragnarok fights. I have that urge when I play an MMO where I can zoom my camera out as a raid leader. I want to see the battlefield. And in God of War Ragnarok,
I'm just teasing you, man.
I know, but
there's a better example right now is people with Oppenheimer. This was presented as a 3-hour drama with lots of dialogue, and it's not an action movie. But people came at it as I wanted an action movie. Why didn't we see what was going on in Europe? I wanted to see what was going on the front lines. Oh, why didn't we see the bombs drop? I want to see this. I want to see that. It's like, that's not what the movie. It's a character study of Oppenheimer. So having this weird argument of, I want romance, just like you're saying, is this movie is bad because it's not fully about romance. That's not what it's intended to be.
Right.
It's not what it was. And that's okay. Things can be different. Things can have a target audience. As much as I don't like what exactly,
I was just
that's where I was about to go.
Barbenheimer in general. I didn't see either movie because neither movie was of interest to me. I didn't care to go watch this biopic, whatever, of Oppenheimer. Like, it looked like it could be a good movie, but it's really not my
I adored it.
interest.
Same reason. I didn't see it because I studied the history. I didn't need to go see it. I wasn't interested in it.
And then I hated Barbies growing up. I hate pretty much everything pink except for my favorite flower. Like, that's literally not a movie for me. So I didn't watch either of them. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, we've been told all the time that we're bad people, Adam, for not liking a certain movie.
It wasn't made for you. And the one time we acknowledge it isn't made for us, when we because remember, it took me 3 weeks to understand that about Barbie, realizing that this really is a case of not made for me, and why it was working, because it had its audience. And
target audience is a beautiful thing. That's something, as a published author myself, I have to be very conscious of my target audience, because mine is a rather narrow audience. It's a very narrow audience. So when I'm talking to people about the books and deciding whether or not to recommend it to them, I have to be very careful. But for the people who are on that target audience, I've gotten a lot of love from that target audience. But target audience is a beautiful thing, and you have to keep it in mind.
Have to know who you're making your content for. And I say content because we're talking about books, movies, games here. Gotta know who you're making it. And this is the late 90s when they still understood who they're making this for. This is a mid-level action adventure movie that's meant to just for people to have a good time with, and that's all it was. It wasn't meant to win awards. It's not meant to deliver a message. It's meant to give you escapism, entertainment. Right. Now, go ahead.
Well,
I was agreeing.
Well, I would like to add one thing before we change the topic, adding on to something Gal said a few minutes ago. Is I don't think you should be embarrassed, might be the wrong word, but hesitant to say that you related to the brother-sister story, because this is how you should relate to characters. This is how you should see yourself on screen, is not in superficial aesthetic things like, oh, this person looks like me, oh, this person's gay like me, or whatever it is. You should relate to the story and the characters. One of my favorite characters from books, television, video games is Ciri from The Witcher. Do I look like Ciri? Do I act like Ciri? No. But I relate to her story.
Jed, you have a penis. You can't relate to her.
Exactly. It's so superficial. But no, relating to story aspects, a lot of people say they relate to father-daughter stories or father-son stories. A good father is something that's very lacking in Hollywood these days. Even if the father and child don't look like you can relate to a relationship like that. And that's why people love those stories and why they're so missing people are always craving it. When there's even a little bit of it, people hyper focus on it because it's so rare these days. But that's how you should relate to a story. That's how it's always been up until the recent years. And that's what makes something timeless, because those relationships, those things have been around for centuries, for millennia. And if we can relate to our characters like that, we're always going to remember that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to relate to relationships. We need to relate to characters. We need to
That's
relate
how
to
it
arcs.
works.
Yeah.
And that
To
and
the inside to who a person
and if
is
you
to
have
character.
that in your story neatly woven into it, it moves it along and it doesn't pull us out. And we're just happy.
See, and this is where, like, sorry, just real quick.
Go ahead.
Modern movies, Hollywood, this is where the problem comes from. And I noticed it, God, like 20 years ago at this point, where I was calling it the Oppression Olympics. We all know what I am talking about with that, but I was calling that out 20 years ago because, like, growing up as a tomboy in the 90s, early aughts, like, people were just like, oh, well, you're a woman, so you're oppressed, or like you're going to be held back because of these things. And I was just like, where does this end? Hollywood is now trying to check every single box because of the Oppression Olympics that started 20 plus years ago.
You're not wrong.
And you can't make a story like that. You can't just start out, okay, I need to have this type of character, this type of character. You can, but it's making it checking a box where you have to have every single color, every single gender, like whatever.
Yeah, it
probably
you
saw
don't-
the wheels turning in my head right there.
Real quick, Hell Cliff Anderson. Yeah, I'm keeping the Scorpion King out of all discussion to these two movies because even though it's set up as in the second one, to me, the Scorpion King exists outside of these.
It contradicts The Mummy Returns in so many ways. It can't be.
So I let it exist on its own. It's not. I agree. It's an okay movie. I don't.
I've only seen the first one. I didn't see the other four.
Just the one that's with the Rock.
It was
just
fun.
I just think of the one that had the Rock.
There were 5 total. 5
Really?
total.
There were that many? I knew there was a second one. I didn't know there were 5. Wow. But yeah,
The Rock's in a couple of them too. He's not
really?
just.
I thought he was only in the first one.
I can double check, but yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
Wow.
with our discussions definitely about this, and when we talk about the second movie, when we bring that up in another episode, I'm leaving the Scorpion King as a movie out of our discussion. When I say only 2, I'm talking about the Mummy movies, not the Scorpion King.
Yeah,
so just for a heads up on that. So all right, so I think we've gone over great performances. The story knows what it is. The relation works it. Let's talk about the technical aspects. Choreography. I love it. I have, of course, a couple times they lost track of ammo a couple of times, and that's one of my pet peeves in a movie. They kept track of it mostly, but there were a couple times where Rick lost track of his ammo with his revolvers. Okay, but I saw it. I saw it movie. The choreography itself works. I have no problem with it. The flow, the action scenes don't feel unbelievable with the way they go, and they're set up really well. And then of course we mentioned the CGI. This is late 90s CGI.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah, it still holds up. Yeah,
it's better
I
than
can't-
She-Hulk. Like
Okay.
the second one, we make fun of the Scorpion King in the second one, but besides that, these first two movies are very strong.
I was gonna make a comparison. Like it got worse with the Scorpion.
Yeah, the Digital Rock in that one when he does the Rock smirk. We'll make fun of that someday.
Yeah, that one's rough. But the CGI,
but overall,
I was just marveling at it.
Yeah,
while watching it.
Like the Mummy Minions CGI, some of that's practical too. It's a mix.
Mm-hmm.
It works. I'm not taken out of it.
Yeah.
It works very well.
And of course, now it was mentioned earlier, Jerry Goldsmith's score. From the moment the movie starts, you're pulled into
brings
it.
you in. Yeah.
And you're in. And
it's become so iconic that people emulate. When you hear music like this, you think of Egypt. Whether or not it's accurate, it's just so much like, this is Egypt. This is about Egypt right now. It's so clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's very impressive. I don't know if that was a thing beforehand, if he was imitating a style, if that's actually how Egyptian music sounds, but
it
it's
just
so
creates the flow. And then that's again one of the goats, Jerry Goldsmith. He knows how to do a score, how to set a scene and make it sound adventurous while at the same time sounding romantic for Rick and Evie, make a tinge of comedy for Jonathan.
Yeah.
It just flows, it doesn't break stride, and it carries you through the adventure.
The entire thing.
Yeah.
Like nothing is small when it comes to it.
And it's the work of a master. It's the work of a maestro. It is work of the men who were brilliant at their job. John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, these guys, they know how to entertain with sound and pair it perfectly to the moments. And it's great. So
Yeah,
the soundtrack,
I have zero complaints. Like,
yeah, what
everything
Jed and
about
I like to say, does a soundtrack elevate a movie? This soundtrack elevates the movie because it's done by one of the GOATs, and you can feel it. Even though I didn't know it was him, or maybe I knew it was him and forgot, it still elevates him because it's in the DNA of enjoying this. It just is.
Well, and I feel like it fits really well with the cinematography. This movie isn't necessarily like so beautifully shot, but it's what's the term? Like, it's a perfect pairing between the cinematography for like the areas that they're in, as well as the score. And it actually, so I recently watched Equalizer 3, and it reminds me of that, where I don't know if either of you have seen it, but
No, I haven't seen it.
It stood out to me in Equalizer 3. It was beautifully shot for so many scenes, and the way the score, sorry,
It's okay. Hey,
words
you're
are
waxing
hard for me
poetic.
sometimes.
You're waxing poetic. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're into it.
Highly
You're
recommend.
showing passion and love for something, and it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. See, that's what's missing from so much today. We, as real passionate fans about things, we can go into. I mean, last night we were destroying Dermy's channel on purpose, talking so much One Piece because I went down the rabbit hole. You get me started, I will keep going. But you get the
sometimes
fans,
it's just hard to like find the words for.
Yeah, but
for
the
it
fake
when
fans
you're-
of the stands, they will just say, "I wet myself. I'm vomiting. I'm screaming. I'm dying inside." That's how they portray their love for something, and it's creepy and weird. Whereas you right now, you're getting it out there, you're finding words, but then you're struggling for the proper expression because you're trying to get you don't want to just say something generic, silly, and weird. You want to get that perfect combination of adjectives and metaphors that are going to express how how much this means to you, and you're having fun with it. That's where you could tell a real fan from a crazy person who doesn't really, who's there for the moment.
Adam just waxed poetic about waxing poetic. That's the best waxing you've done, Adam, on this stream at least.
Anyway,
but I recommend Equalizer 3 as well as this movie, obviously.
I'll probably get around to it at some point. I love a good Denzel ass kicking. That's good stuff.
And
all right, with that said, we have reached the end. Gal, as our guest, you are not influenced by our saltiness. You may score first out of 10.
I'm probably gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Just because like it does have its small problems, like Jed mentioned, and it's worth knocking points, but I would not be able to give it any lower than that. I lean more towards 9, but I think that's nostalgia, and I have to be logical about.
See, everyone does it. Everyone acts like I'm weird for doing it, but everyone does it.
Yeah, but you're harsher than all of us.
I'm a lot harsher.
I am acknowledging my bias. So
that's all I do. I got killed on Geeks and Gamers Daily for saying that.
The problem is you're dealing with such a large audience there.
Yeah.
There's going to be there'll be the wave of backlash is going to be much more severe than Legatus yelling at us for something here. All right, I'll go next. It was my week. 8.5, because this movie is exactly the type of escapism I want. I have great leading characters who have fantastic acting and character chemistry. The action set pieces are just fun and exciting. I love watching badasses at work. I love watching female characters be both goofy and sexy, even though Rachel Weisz takes Evie to a whole higher sex appeal in the second movie. She amps it up, and I love it even more then. I like the story just the way it is. I'm a lot less critical about the contrivances than Jed is, because to me, I feel like they work them in nicely enough that I'm not annoyed by them, but at the same time, the actors who are a part of it are giving such good delivery and such entry into it in terms of, like I said, Winston and Rick's relationship. They just know each other. Works enough for me. I'm okay with it. and I just have fun. This is fun, and because I can pair it, and I shouldn't let it influence me, but I'm going to, because I can pair it with a sequel that is just as good, in my opinion. I have a lot of closure, and I have I can have a whole good time with it. So I get 5 out of 10.
One thing about the contrivances, I don't get too upset with them all the time, like just depending on what they are. So like these ones, they do have a bit of a natural, like if you're telling a story about something that happened in your past, like I've had situations where I'm in the moment and I'm like, how did that even happen? Like even just like with the fellowship and like how I found the fellowship, and then people that I meet and have conversations with at meetups, it is like, wait, how did this even happen? So how I met Adam is because I was talking with Ryan and he had just met other Adam from Vets Talking, and both Ryan and I are vets. So I decided to go watch the live stream that Ryan was on. So like there are things in life that happen.
A certain degree
crazy
of them
weird
are,
like
of course,
that. Yes.
Yes, of course.
And from like a story aspect, that it is sort of believable. So just like if you're sitting back thinking like you're an 80-year-old man telling a story from your past and this happened, like it's possible that it happened. So I'm more forgiving of it than like say
I knew you were gonna do that. I knew you were freaking do that, you dickhead.
What did he say?
He said I'm 80 years old, basically.
No. You said when you're 80-year-old telling a story. I said so. Adam,
I was just gonna wait. I was waiting for it. That's today's joke. I get it. Anyway, all right, Jed. Go be mean to the movie now. Go ahead, be mean.
I'm not gonna be that mean, especially compared to you guys. Of course, with my like pure enjoyment, the full subjective perspective, I would be giving this a 9.5. Like I enjoy this movie every time. You have to have a grin on your face watching it. And the character work is by far the strongest aspect of this film. And that's mainly because of the actors' performances, but in the writing as well. They're just very strong and separate and unique characters that work very well together. But again, the contrivances, of course, there's I do agree that there is an understandable amount of contrivances, but this one strained my credulity to too far of an extent with just so many of them in a short period of time that I have to dock it for. And this simple story is what it needed to a certain extent, but it's too simple. I'd say it just stretches a little bit too far into the simplistic nature. So I'd give it a 7.5. So still pretty close to you guys.
All right, I thought you were gonna be meaner. Yeah, that's good.
No,
what's funny is I'm kind of OCD about certain things. So like the fact that you guys just both gave it 0.5s like hurts my soul a bit because I don't like odd numbers.
Oh, we do a lot.
We do that a lot. Oh yeah, it's like, am I gonna?
We don't do anything else. Yeah, we don't do like 2s or anything like 2s or 7s.
Yeah. We keep it round at 5s. We keep it at half points. We don't
5 or 0.
Yeah.
That's why I took 2 full points off because like 1 point is my nostalgia and the other
for
point
us
is
the 0.5. That's it's a nice round enough thing that it's the metric.
I'm more forgiving than like a 17 type of number, like or a 13. Yeah.
It's a 7.21958.
Jed's version
you just watched my soul leave my body.
All right, there we go. The Mummy. All right, thank you guys. There will not be a regular Saturday Night Drive-In next week. We may have something for you anyway. We will let you know what's going on with that. All right, so let's have a guy. Gal, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. This was fun.
All right. You're setting up your YouTube channel right now, so I can't send people there. But
I mean, I have videos up. It's
okay. You know, all right. Type it in the I didn't have your links, so put it in the private chat. And I'll make sure I update it in the links in the description section. Anyway, all right. So, Gal, let us know what you're doing though with your social media presence.
Yeah, you can find me, HairedAnti-Liberal on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram's a little different. It's Tiffany Rose Cosplay, but either search will get you there on Instagram. And I'm just working on a couple of videos right now. I mostly do cosplay videos, but I might start doing some streaming of games that might not be as popular or well known, since I can't do Suikoden on Steam yet. Dang it!
They delayed the remaster. That pissed me off. I was all ready for it next month, and they delayed it. But hey, if they have to tweak it to make it work, fine. We'll get it, and then we'll get it first quarter next year, and then I'm streaming the hell out of that. I haven't played those games in a while. I had to get rid of my physical copies because they were selling really well, and I needed the money. So
that is unfortunate.
I had to sell them, but it was when I got back from China and I needed money. So, I got to get rid of it. So I'm very much looking forward to those remasters. That's going to be a good time. I love those games. All right, Jed, you're on the road.
I am on the road, so I'm going to be doing whatever I can from here at the studio. You can find me Hollywood Scholar on YouTube. And I may or may not be showing up on some very, very large streams in the next couple days, but I can't really fully confirm that yet. But just stay tuned to Geeks and Gamers. There might be some cool stuff coming up with that in the future.
Because Jed knows people.
I know people.
Jed knows people. And I know Jed, so I sort of know people.
Like these type of people.
Anyway, all right, guys. And as you know, you're here. You know who I am. Check out all the current reviews going on. And thank you all for being here. Chat, we love you. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, if you're watching this live or on the replay, re-upload. Having a good time. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. And we will see you guys next time. Until then, have a good night or day wherever you may be. Take it easy.
Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your hunt. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Well, I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi, and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not while you can, monkey boy.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.